Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome back to the digital version of NHL Now. We are very excited to be heading into the weekend with none other than Ken Casey of the Dropkick Murphys, who, by the way, you can hear narrating a very exciting documentary Sunday night on NHL Network about the 1970 Boston Bruins. It's called Big, Bad, and Bobby. There will be a special NHL Tonight at 7 o'clock leading up to it. But without further ado, thank you for doing the show today. We appreciate it. How you doing?
My pleasure. Great to be here. Great to be involved. I like to, instead of, musician, I refer to myself as a narrator now. That's my
Very nice.
Sounds way more professional, Narrators don't have like the bad stereotypes of music. People think musicians are lazy or drug addicts. And you say narrator, he's got to be a responsible guy.
Yeah. I think you're probably right about that. I haven't heard those crazy narrator stories.
No, you never see a narrator wrecking his hotel room. You know what I mean?
No, very rarely. But I want to ask you about that. Like, what was it like for you? Have you done any narration before? What was it like to narrate something like this that is really so close to your heart anyway?
I my only other experience in the biz, we call it VO, voiceover, right?
Yeah.
And I did a cartoon for Adult Swim Network called Assy McGee, which was a cartoon about a cop who was just like a torso, legs and a butt, and he wore, the old hat and a trench coat, and he had a cigar coming out of, wasn't his mouth, but you get the picture. And I played a drug addict on the Assy McGee. I did the voice of a drug addict. Yeah. So it was a big jump from that to this. So,
my gosh.
no, this was an honor. I mean, as it says in the script, my first words were Bobby Orr. That's a true story. My grandfather, who raised me, was he was making damn sure those are the first words that came out of my mouth. But that shows you the passion and love the place, the people had for Bobby Orr here, because, that had to be my first words.
Yeah.
And he's obviously a legend in the hockey world, but from what I understand, you've now become quite good friends with Bobby Orr. So I want to ask you what your favorite memory or story of Bobby Orr is off of the ice, just in your friendship. Of course, it's safe for TV. I don't know, digital shows.
I mean, in an overall encompassing thing, I'd just say the humility. Doesn't talk about himself and his accolades, and he's usually, my experience. We host a golf tournament together every year, and it's on 2 different courses. And Bobby and I drive around in a cart and shake hands and take pictures or whatever with every group. And to watch him interact with 400 or 500 golfers in a day, and just have that patience and tolerance and kindness for the last group as he did for the first group was unbelievable. But he's just one of a kind. We had him in a music video years ago, and in this music video there's a bunch of NHL. The video is called "Going Out in Style," and a bunch of Bruins were in it, and all these cameo people would throw a snowball, and the character would get hit. The Bruins were all getting hit, but you don't hit Bobby Orr, so we let Bobby Orr throw. So we go down to his house, and we've got the camera probably 25 feet away and a piece of plexiglass over. We say, Bobby, hit, throw the snowball dead center on this, and you wouldn't, full on heater from 25, 30 feet away, dead center on the camera. First one, he says, I could have played professional baseball as well, which, he's just joking, but he's just, he still got it. He still got it on the golf course, and but that whole generation of guys like Bobby, I think his legacy is cemented in Boston more so by what he's done off the ice and how he's been in the community than even so what he did on the ice. Because everybody knows somebody who Bobby showed up at their kids' or their friend's kid's hospital when he was, and having an operation or something, all these like unsung things he's done. And people don't know that about him because they read it in the paper or saw it on TV. They know about it because he's, just that deep into the community that he's had a direct impact on a lot of people.
Ken, doing this narration for the documentary again, we'll have it Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern right here on the NHL Network. But doing the narration, did you learn anything new about these Bruins? Because obviously you were a newborn at the time this happened in 1970. Did you learn anything about this group?
I have been asked that a few times, and I didn't really learn anything new because I've got to spend a lot of time with some of these guys on the golf course and everything. But I just loved watching it. My favorite part, although the highlights and all that, and what especially the great narration is what makes the hair on your back of your neck stand up. But my favorite part was just watching them talking around the table. I mean, getting them all on the table. To me, it was just like, man, I could have watched 2 hours of just that, And I'm sure the better stories were when the camera stopped rolling. But I just have such respect for that era and those guys, and I think that they did an amazing job putting it together, and and I think that what it really captures is not just how great a team it was, how exciting it was, how great Bobby was, but it captures the impact that it had on the people of Boston, and I think that's the most unique part about that team.
It really is. It's so well done. And we were fortunate enough to get an advanced screening and watch it ahead of time. And I think too, for someone that wasn't around then and who's only heard about Bobby Orr.
You weren't around then?
No, I'm not, right? Shocking. I look like I am. I just say too to anybody watching this, that has only heard about it or read about it. It really is a great documentary to kind of inform yourself about the different ways that specific team impacted the game and the city of Boston. But I want to ask you, Ken, about just the correlation of the Dropkick Murphys with Boston Bruins hockey, because obviously people just connect those two now, like it's always been that way. But was there a moment or a time where you started to become aware of the fact that a whole lot of people were sort of associating the Dropkick Murphys with the Boston Bruins, and what was that like as a fan of the team?
I think that I was a season ticket holder, going back to the beginning days of the band, and would be friendly with the players. Now I'm not as friendly with the players because I could be their father, for Christ's sake, but some of the ones that have been there a while I am. But and maybe the front office was connecting the fact that the team listened to us and we loved them, and so then we started to do some kind of promotional stuff, cross promotional stuff, and then we played a couple of shows post game where they would take a Tuesday night that wasn't selling well and do it with a combination of us playing after, and then they clear the ice and we'd play afterwards. And then in 2003 we wrote a song called Time to Go, which is about basically growing up and taking the train to the game with your friends and going to the old garden, and just about that feeling of like getting off the subway and walking into the old Boston Garden, and how intense it felt. And so I think that probably started to cement the relationship the most, that we actually wrote a song about him. And then from there, just, obviously shipping up to Boston, they use a lot. The song "The Boys Are Back," that song was released the day the lockout ended. Like, wow, what a good coincidence that was. Yeah. That turned out to be a good a lot of the rinks play that, so we love hockey though. There's only one Boston sports logo I have tattooed on me, and that's the Bruins logo, so there you go.
Heyo.
I love all the other teams, but the Bruins are my first.
Yeah, you mentioned the old Boston Garden, and that's another star in this documentary, because we get to see a lot of footage out of there. Describe for fans and viewers who never had that opportunity, what was it like to be in that building and watch games? Because I can remember it was tight.
You look back, it's like you might have that crazy uncle that you look back on now that's dead, and you say he was a good guy, but at the time he was a real pain in the ass. You can look back fondly on the Boston Garden, and the memories and the feelings. But when you think, if they ever said to me now, hey, they're going to build the new rink and it's going to be an exact replica of the Garden, I'd say, oh, Jesus Christ, I won't fit in the seat. And it seemed like every other seat was obstructed by a pole, and God forbid you ever had loge seats down the bottom and went to a Celtics game. If you're up the top of the loge because the balcony hung down, you'd have to go like this to see the hoop. And and a lot of the tickets were not sold as obstructed view. You say, excuse me, I paid full price. There's a pole in front of me. Say, hey, it's the Garden. But more than anything, I think it was just the atmosphere. It was just old and dirty, So.
Another one for you. Do you have a favorite Boston Bruins memory in terms of like a play or a goal or a series? Just kind of one that really sticks out for you?
I mean, obviously that cup in 2011, I got to be up at that game and on the ice and all that. So the T-shirt one, that'll be always one. That Toronto, that Game 7 Toronto comeback that we had in the first round of the playoffs when we came back from 3 goals down. I have the
I don't remember that. Is that a game people talk about?
That's a
yeah. She's a Leafs fan, Ken.
The best part about that is the row behind me is all saved for the away team's front office people, and a lot of times, obviously, they'll resell them that day of game if they're not using them. But it was all Toronto front office people, and they were so excited and so happy, and they calling their friends, and they're asking them, well, what's it like out on the street? Where they all watching on the TV. That never works out for them, by the way. They're all and then it goes bad. Anyway, I felt so bad, and I don't usually get like that. I'm one to rub it in when we win, but I legit felt bad for these people. My 21st birthday in 1990 was on a Bruins Hartford Whalers playoff game in Hartford, and me and my friends all went down, and the same thing. The Bruins came back from like 3 goals down to win, and they've been playing that, of course, with no hockey. They've played that game a lot of times on, and it was a great game, but just the fact that I said, oh my God, that was my 21st birthday and I was there. Wow. And glad they didn't show what happened after the game with me and my crowd.
They don't have that video.
No, thank God.
You won't see that in the documentary. No, just kidding. Well, listen, you can never count out the big bad Bruins. That's why we call them that. And they were looking good this season as well. Hopefully we'll see them back on the ice soon. But this weekend,
you want the cup.
We're going way back to 1970 and the 1970 Bruins. It's called Big Bad and Bobby. You can see it on NHL Network this Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and it is narrated by yours truly, Ken Casey of the Dropkick Murphys. The narrator now.
The narrator.
Have a great weekend, and thanks again for this.
Yeah, thank you. Great to talk to you guys.
All right.